Our guest today is Superintendent of Schools Bob Tremblay. Bob, school opens, we air the Friday before school opens and during the week school opens, so anything new going on in the school system this year?
Yeah, well, I can't believe it's here already. I can't believe we're opening school. The summer flew by, but we have August 26th is the first day back for students grades 1 through 12, and our kindergarten, pre-kindergarten students will start the following week. But yeah, it's an exciting year. We have, we have the Woodland School project. As you know, it's well underway, planning on that one. So come this spring, we'll hopefully be breaking ground on that
Our
project.
guest right after you will be Aldo, Cecchi, the chairman of the building committee, so he'll keep us up to date on where that stands.
Oh, sure, absolutely. So that's one exciting thing that will happen in the school year ahead, among many others. This year, one of the focus of the year will be looking at one-to-one technology. So you see a lot of that in school districts, certainly around here, around the state. There's a lot of iPad initiatives, other kinds of initiatives. So part of the work I'll be doing with the team in Milford is to find out what's the best solution for us to do one-to-one computing. And what I'm not a fan of is getting devices in everyone's hand and then figuring out what to do with them. I really am a firm believer that our kids need book skills as much as they need the technology skills. But if we can find the use of technology that extends their learning, and then find the right device to do that. So I want to make sure we're careful and methodical about that.
Well, when computers first became the item that every school needed, I was involved in schools at that point in time, and philosophically the teachers said, oh great, we have this thing, let's all try and figure it, let's all use it. They looked at it not as a tool like a pencil, they looked at it as something entirely different. And that's the trap that most places fall into with technology. They look at the technology, they don't look at it as a tool like a pencil or a piece of paper. Right. So, the fact that you're taking the time to figure out how it fits and what the best fit is, that's really the best way to move forward in it.
I think so too. It's not so much that we're looking to say, is it a textbook offset? I mean, there's certainly, you could look at a cost perspective and say, well, for spending X number of dollars on textbooks, we could apply the X number of dollars instead to, using iPads or Chromebooks or whatever the technology is. But the way I'm envisioning this is more about using the internet as a resource to extend learning. So if a student was going to be studying working together in a group and need to find out information, if any of us were sitting in this room with our smartphones, we'd go online to find out just basically any information or fact that we need at our fingertips. And how do you leverage that in the classroom?
Now, one interesting thing I thought is we discussed before we began taping the show, is rumors fly everywhere, is school superintendents want to put iPads in the hands of every kid because the park test is done on the internet. And once you have the iPad in every kid's hands, then you can switch from the state test to the park test.
So are you saying that that's a...
that's a rumor going around, I've heard.
Yeah, well, I think it's kind of the tail wagging the dog.
I know.
In that instance. There are issues with iPads for the park exam, as you point out. For example, you need a keyboard. You don't need a Bluetooth keyboard. So if you put 25 Bluetooth keyboards in the classroom, you're going to have issues of interference. So now it's going to be a wired keyboard. So there's always one more thing. And then there's the screen size issues. So right. I don't think it's much a conspiracy as some people might lead it to believe. I just think you need a device that's versatile enough. And again, I haven't done the research on this for the school. That's the work that we'll be doing this year. Yeah. My gut instinct, though, is that we shouldn't be looking for a proprietary device, saying we're running with an iPad initiative or a Chromebook initiative. Right. It ought to be something that says whatever the technology is that day, and in 2 years' time, when Woodland School opens, for example, technology may be completely different.
So it should be an initiative that technology supports, not it's a technology initiative.
Exactly right. So the technology is just sort of the tool, the means of getting there. But the money is well spent, in infrastructure, making sure you have a robust network to deal with. If you prefer to work on your Kindle and you prefer to work on your iPad and I prefer a laptop, we should all be able to get the same information and access it as we'd like to.
Right. The same. Right. Now the dilemma that you face is, and this is a problem that most school districts come to face with, is technology. The technology component is the part that makes it all play together. And from that standpoint, most schools are very hesitant about bringing a specialist on board that their job is not teaching, their job is not managing, their job is the technology portion. Those people are very expensive to bring on board, but the technology doesn't work unless you have that kind of person. So where's the school district relative to that?
Well, the town, as you know, a few years back moved to basically a school and town-based IT director person. They've been a chief technology officer, and we have a gentleman in place, Paul Blivis, is managing that now for the town. The town also is putting forward a technician support that will support the town and the schools. On the school end of things, we have we have computer programming as a class at the high school, so we teach JavaScript and we teach any number of applications for video production. But we also are hiring a technology integration teacher, and that person will work with our staff. It's been budgeted for, and will work with staff to integrate, however they want to integrate technology into lesson planning and giving resources to appropriate websites or things to enrich learning in the class. One area I do want to look at, though, is we have computer classes taught at the middle level. And I'm wondering if those are better served at a different level, because students are coming, really through the elementary school. They're coming into kindergarten with a basic computer
All the skills, right?
They're operating an iPad when they're 2, 3 years old.
I think it's cultural today that it's just part of growing up.
It is. How we're teaching. One of the best classes I ever had in high school that I can recall was typing, where you could actually just have a typing class and you worked on the typewriter and you didn't have to look down and point. But kids are sort of developing this natural skill, and you can now. Instead of having the typical QWERTY keyboard, the layout, you can change it to an alphabetical keyboard or whatever keyboard you like, and it's just as fast. And even with their thumbs, in some cases, text.
Yeah,
I have to confess, I use Drag and Dictate on my iPad to write my town crier stories.
Absolutely, and it's another great piece of software.
The dilemma that you face is that what happens is the skill set of the students coming in far surpasses sometimes the teachers that's teaching it. The other dilemma you face is, and we found this when we first, again, I was involved in the school system when we started to integrate schools, computers into schools. What you find is that the teacher that is supposed to be teaching technology, the teacher, for her to spend time managing that technology begins to soften her teaching time. So, you can't, it's hard to do both.
Yeah.
So it makes it very difficult.
And as staff come in, they have those skills, and we want to provide the resources to them. But again, it's not about integrating technology, saying, adding more and more technology. It's giving teachers what they need when they need it to deliver the instruction in a way that reaches the kids. If a kid's able to find out any information he wants at any point on their phone, but yet come into school, sit behind a desk, and have it sort of one-way delivered.
It's going to turn them off.
It's going to turn them off.
Well, the dilemma also is the accuracy of that information, because, as you well know, that accuracy, you have to filter it.
That's right.
You hear that constantly. Well, it's on the internet, so it must be true.
Right.
Well,
Wikipedia is a great example.
Yeah, right. So
I've written definitions in Wikipedia, by the way.
Yeah.
So
if you want to judge the accuracy, go ahead.
We're sure they're pretty valid.
They are.
Maybe. So the dilemma is that you need somebody to gives the student, okay, the information's there, but someone has to teach the student how to differentiate between what is viable information and what is not viable information.
That's absolutely right. And I think, too, that we do a disservice to our students if they don't have the skills and they leave to go on to college and have book skills. I mean, there's a real need, and I worry about that. I worry about an idea of a bookless sort of society, and I understand, the backlighting of a Kindle or of an iPad, and it's easier to read on that, digital books, but there's something to be said for actually having a book in your hand, holding it, or knowing how to navigate the Dewey Decimal System and actually find a book in the library.
And being able to critically interpret it.
Absolutely.
And write about it.
So you have to have both of those. So I'm really trying to wrestle with that.
The prime example that we all lived through, I'm sure, is when I was in college, slide rule is what you used. And to use a slide rule is just logarithms. It's all just a ruler with logarithms on it. So you understood the function. Well, as time went on, kids started using calculators. And pretty soon, doing something longhand was something they, doing it on a piece of paper and writing down that they don't know how to do it. If they can't use the calculator, they can't function.
That's
the
right,
great example we have, Bob, is, the power goes off and you're in a store and the kids can't make change because the cash register can't tell them how to do it.
Well,
Right.
Yeah, there's problems like that. Or you ask somebody to cut your pizza into 3 equal parts, and That's
Anyway.
as soon as they go all the way through the pizza, you know that gig is
didn't
up.
work.
It's over.
Completely different topic.
Yes.
This is is it your 8th year as superintendent or 9th?
No, I'm starting my 8th year.
Wow.
It's 17 years in Milford. My 8th year is
So now,
superintendent.
by happenstance, you are, and I kid you about this all the time, you're the longest
Standing.
standing, sitting,
No, right now you're sitting.
Yes.
the longest in the same position, in the same town, superintendent in the Metro West towns.
Yeah, it's.
How'd that happen?
Oh, well, you know, you worry about complacency. You know, if you're in the job too long, you know,
Yeah.
should you find somebody different and move out and keep it fresh? And I think with Milford's case, it's been a labor of love for me. I love the community. I hope for a long career here. There's just so much work to be done, and to see these projects come to fruition.
Well,
You know,
there's a good side to that.
To sit around and actually, I say sit around, to be around, to be in a community, to watch this come to life, and something that you were part of and invested in. I personally can't understand. I mean, I can understand on the financial side, people will chase for a 3-year average for retirement. You're going to chase the highest 3 years you can get. But if you're really, in my view, invested in the community and seeing that, you'll stick around to see it through.
Well, one of the things I've read is that the average life of a superintendent is less than 3 years.
Yeah, like
Or
2.8.
3 years.
No,
So the
career
interesting
life.
thing is,
Career life.
yeah, the interesting thing is, one of the biggest criticisms I've read about education in the U.S. is just that, is nobody stays in position long enough to affect change and then see it through over time. So you're sort of living that. So you've actually gone, I think you've replaced every principal,
Yeah, just about every.
and some of them twice.
Every sort of one of the senior staff level people I've put in place.
Right. You've hired the assistant principals, the principals. You've witnessed the end of the school rejuvenation program, and hopefully you'll be here when Woodland opens its doors. So you've really watched the entire school system refresh itself. Does that give you a good feeling?
Well, it gives you a real sense of ownership, of saying, of pride, and just being able to walk through the halls and know that you connect with people and you've been around long enough to see the kids through. And you know, there's something really proud about that. Milford's a very proud community. It's proud of its history, and for good reason. I mean, the music history in this community is strong. Just the conservative approach to budgeting, to finance here. Everybody cares about it like it's their own. You know, people spend money in Milford like it's out of their own pocket. People walk down the hall and pick things up. I find myself all the time, actually, just if I see something on the ground, I'll pick it up. Even happened the other day, I was out on vacation. I don't know, we're in New Jersey, and I picked up a tissue on the boardwalk. That's where I did it. I said, "Why am I doing this?"
Well, as a New
It's
Jersey
habit.
native, I
It's
got
just
to
that
warn you, I
pride.
hope you washed your hands after that.
I did, but it's, you know, it's a community that's very proud, and for good reason. And to be in the community, to see it flourish, and to be leading the school district in a way. And one other program I wanted to touch on with that is to see now the hospitality and tourism management program. We launched that last January in terms of getting the first cohort, and now we're sort of, you know.
And do I understand they're going to be wearing uniforms?
Yeah, well, it's not, you know.
Not a uniform, but
Yeah.
you'll be able to recognize them.
Yeah, we believe, and I very firmly believe, that if you're representing the school department, you're going to represent the school department well. So it's going to be it's a black polo shirt. It says Hospitality Tourism Management on it. It has the Milford Hawk, Scarlet Hawk, and then we wear khaki pants and black shoes. But
That's when they're on a job.
that's when they're on a job.
So it's no different than some of the BVT kids in the nursing program and ever. You see them
Exactly.
in the uniform.
So if they're working
they
at the
will actually
Doubletree-
be out in the field this year
They
working?
will. They'll be working at our two partners right now, the Doubletree, and this actually originated through our work together, Al, when you were on the board of the Chamber of Commerce.
Right.
And we were on the board together.
Right.
So we working with the Doubletree in town and Atlas Travel, both excellent businesses, both of which are helping our kids get a taste for the hospitality and tourism industry, separate from culinary. So culinary falls, like BVT is a strong culinary
Right.
arts program. So we're not competing with BVT, but we're adding the other end to it, you know, of the front desk management, all of the travel piece.
And not every kid wants to go to college.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is not a bad thing. One of the things that our country is losing are the skill set to build a cabinet, to fix plumbing, or to wire a house, or to those things that are important functions for a society to continue. You know, those are just as important as someone going to college.
Sure.
So what we're losing some of those skills.
So I guess any plans to bring back home ec?
But home ec, well, I think home ec is sort of is re-envisioned. I mean, what do they say? Something like 80% of the jobs that will exist and don't even exist today.
That's correct.
In 10 years or something. I don't know what the exact statistics are, but how do you prepare for a future that you don't even know what it is yet? And that makes it very challenging. But something like hospitality tourism management is a multi-billion-dollar industry. It's the largest industry in the world.
Just to give you an idea on that, I was doing a trivia test on online the other day, and Steve Jobs, the late Steve Jobs, who of course led Apple to its glory, evidently said about only 4 or 5 years ago, he didn't see a market for smartphones.
Really?
And I think all of us have an iPhone. The three of us all have iPhones. Yeah. So there you go. Hey, we're out of time.
It goes by quick, huh?
Oh.
So anyway, stop by the schools anytime, and anyone who's watching who wants to learn more about Milford schools, give me a call, send me an email, set up a meeting. I'd love to chat.
Okay, Bob, we'll have you back later.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, our guest is Aldo Cecchi, who's the chairman of the Woodland Committee for the new Woodland Elementary School. Aldo, it's near the beginning of the school year. Where do we sit with the construction? When do you plan on going out to bid?
Well, we are pretty much on schedule. This is where we had hoped we'd be at this point in time. They've gone through the vetting of all of